Hello, and welcome to The Monster and the Child, where childhood studies, monster studies, and storytelling collide. I am Dr. Kathleen Kellett. Thank you for clicking on another installment of my young adult manuscript, Our Sharp Forsaken Teeth. If this is your first time here, as always, there is a playlist up in the corner and down in the description if you would like to start the story from the beginning. You can also read along on my blog. Those transcript links are also in the description. Before you go, as a reminder, I have enrollment open for various programs. If you're interested in a monthly monster book club and you are an adult or a teenager, I've got you covered. Those signups are in the description at the programs link of my website. Also on there is Youth Monsterology, which is a 5-month program of educational mentorship and peer book club for teenagers ages 14 through 18. You get to do an independent project of your own choosing with close one-on-one mentorship, ungraded, a little interesting and splashy for the college apps, and also a chance to connect with other monster fans and dive deep into literature outside of a school setting. So if that interests you or think it will interest any teenagers in your life, please head over to that link in the description. Okay, so to get to today's chapters, as far as our recap goes, if you're here, you probably remember what happened last, which is Millie transformed with Gret alone in the squat. It was a very scary but intimate experience. Millie had never transformed outside of either the lab or the silver cages at the compound, and this is the first time she can remember being a wolf and being with someone else and not having a negative experience other than the transformations themselves. And after that, she and Gret, talk about what it means to be a werewolf, and then they kiss. They kissed at the end of the last chapter. So that is where we pick up, but as a reminder, before all that happened, a lot of things had been going kind of wrong in the lives of the pack, and I'm afraid some of those things are going to start to crash down. So just be forewarned that these get a little bit heavy. But I still hope that you will enjoy this installment. Chapter 30. Many people had lied to me in my life. Until the moment Gret kissed me, I hadn't realized that one of them was me. For so long I had been untouchable, and for this reason I had pretended it was right, that I would forever be untouched. I could never pretend again. I pulled the blanket tighter around me. Gret was holding my face, but I didn't know how to hold her. I just kissed her back. My body pressed closer to hers without me telling it to. Gret moved her hands from my face down to my back and drew me in. The first kiss was gentle. The second kiss, less so. We'd only just been wolves, after all. When we broke apart, Gret studied my eyes and frowned. "You look like I just slapped you," she said. "Oh, no, sorry, I'm just surprised." "But that was okay?" Gret asked, her eyebrows drawn close together. "Yeah," I said. "That was okay." Since I had never allowed myself to imagine being kissed, I didn't have the slightest inkling what I was supposed to do afterward. Gret was still frowning slightly. Had I been completely terrible? When we were younger, Leela told me that she had practiced kissing on her hand. I'd never done that. I'd thought about it a few times, but the idea of practicing for nothing just made me feel hollow. Gret smoothed my hair back from my face. "You get hot under all that?" I shrugged. My hair had been much straighter when I was little, before the clamp. But even I had a limit on how much of myself I could hate. As far as side effects went, big hair wasn't worth losing sleep over. Don't get me wrong, I think it's great. I just remember how much Sandra used to complain when she had long hair, and hers wasn't all poofy like yours. My hair was currently tangled and dirty from the transformation. Gret thought it was great. I touched a wayward curl lightly. Gret took my hands and said, "Listen, I've been thinking. We need new jobs, and I know my way around some medical equipment from working at the Life Gardens. Dr. Joyan always said that she'd write me a letter of recommendation to wherever I wanted to go. She owes me that much. Thanks to her and Luke, I can totally pretend I went to high school. Rosie knows some forgers through the subconscious, so we can make up a whole history for me. If we get out of this valley and go to a bigger town, I could get a job in a hospital. I'd steal whatever meds Luke needs. We can find a new squat. We'll attract less attention there. We. I kept my mouth shut. Gret scooted a little closer, so our knees were touching. I know you don't want to leave your friend, but if Rosie shows you how to use the subconscious, you can still talk to her and no one will ever know, she said. As for Bix, I've been thinking about how to deal with him, too. After you disappear, the compound will notice that your cuff isn't working, and you can get your friend to blame it on Bix. Then he'll be fired and maybe arrested, and Topher won't be able to work through him anymore. No one at the compound would be in danger. But Dr. Topher will get away again, I protested. She'll come back looking for you, right? If you disappear, it'll drive her nuts. She'll come out in the open looking for clues. Well, that was the plan, wasn't it? Carefully, I said. She might do that, yes. So EP will be looking for you too, and she'll totally get herself caught. She hasn't evaded capture for 10 years by being stupid. No, but she couldn't be an adaptationist in the first place without being relentless. Which is what I had been counting on. I get wanting to catch Topher right away, but your friend, Leela, right? Would be crushed if she got her hands on you, wouldn't she? I would, Gret said. Her words were quiet, but they hit me with the force of bullets. Gret pulled me in, and I buried my face in her shoulder. Either way, I'd never see Leela again, I said. EP would jump at the chance to transfer custody of you guys, right? Of course, but the law only says that EP has to take you if no one else does. You just need a guardian who'll abide by strict regulations and never experiment on you again, Gret said. My hand shook inside of hers. She tightened her grip. The life gardens will take off someday, with or without Tremont, she said, and I could tell she still believed that. Dr. Joyan will never be rich like EP, because she's not going to make people pay their lives away for her food, but she'll have some money, and then she can take me back. She could petition for custody of you. Gret, she experiments with non-standard genes. The government will never allow her to take a synthetic. She'll promise not to do it with the synthetics, Gret said. Earnestness emanated from her like heat. And if not her, then someone she knows. She has standard grad school friends, and she said they were like us, people who want to help. One day there will be life gardens all the way to where the desert meets the Gulf. We can bring your Mir friend to the sea. Picture it, Millie. I tried, but I couldn't. It's impossible. Gret took hold of my face again. How many impossible things have I already done? I stayed free and alive, and I founded this pack. Sandra would have gotten herself killed years ago without me, and she's the first to admit it. Rosie would have been thrown in prison, and Luke would still be at his dad's house. And you... She drew in a deep breath and pressed her forehead to mine. I closed my eyes. You've done impossible things too. All synthetics have. You lived. We can make this happen, Millie. We've got this. I could think of no other response but to kiss her again. When we broke apart, Gret stood. I've got to go get the others. Think about what I said, okay? I will, I promised. I dragged myself to the shower and sat on the tile long after the water shut off. My hand kept rising to my lips. They felt bruised, but the ache was much sweeter than the lingering pain of the transformation. That really happened, I thought. Gret had really kissed me, even after seeing me transform. Even after seeing me naked, that I was human enough again to curl into a ball of horror, and also something that wasn't horror at all, at the thought. Gret kissed me. Gret wanted to run away with me. Gret's plan was nonsense. But what if Dr. Topher really did get herself caught looking for me? I had imagined it many times, except in Gret's version, I would be far away, protected and secure. Leela would have no cause to fear or mourn. I hadn't exactly forgiven her, but I knew that she would certainly like Gret's plan better than mine. I finally realized the flaw in the logic that had driven me forward since the last transformation. I couldn't cancel out the pain I'd already caused by causing even more. I thought about my plan for Dr. Topher, and I didn't shy away from it this time. When I'd considered every angle, I got to my feet and looked in the chipped mirror. I don't want that anymore, I whispered to my reflection. I want to stay with Gret. Every nerve in my body was aflame. I changed into yesterday's clothes, my sopping hair sending rivulets of water down my back. Adrenaline surged through my veins, like I had just let go of another cliff. I was flying. I stepped out of the bathroom and hit the ground hard. The pack had returned, and with them they had brought a grim-faced Dr. Joyen. They sat around the kitchen table without speaking. By the set of Gret's jaw, I knew that Dr. Joyen was not here to write Gret a letter of recommendation. I sat down at the table. Luke was not there, but I knew he must be in his room, feeling everything. Dr. Joyen looked up at me. Her eyes were red. "I crossed paths with your friends on the way back here," she said. "It was lucky I did, because Gret never told me where she lived. Gret never told me a lot of things, and I made sure not to ask. Yesterday, however, I had to make inquiries." I closed my eyes. "We learned that Equilibrium Pharmaceuticals has a housing arrangement here in Supplicants Grove. The mayor approved the deal without informing the general populace, but the records are not private. Citizens have a right to know what their neighbors are. All we had to do was ask." Gret stepped behind my chair and put her hands on my shoulders. "Why couldn't you just say she was a registered werewolf? Why'd you let him go looking for her?" "Mr. Tremont is a man who likes to see things for himself," Dr. Joyen said. "In Millie's file, we discovered that there's a plan in place for her episodes. I assured Mr. Tremont that that is where she must have run off to. I tried to pretend I was not completely in the dark. I said that I wanted to give Millie a chance to be part of the community." Gret's hands tightened on my shoulders. Dr. Joyen looked around at the rest of the pack. "He made me search for all of you, but I'm sure you know that we found no registered non-standards in Supplicants Grove with any of your names. In fact, after he left, I kept looking, and it turns out you were nowhere in the town directory." She paused, then, as if to herself, said, "I knew you all needed help, and I gave it to you. I took that risk." Gret said, "Don't pretend it was charity. You needed us, too." Dr. Joyen did not meet her eyes. "I said I didn't find your names in Supplicants Grove. That doesn't mean I found nothing." Rosie made a strangled squeaking noise. "There was no information about Sandra anywhere, nor do I know anything about your friend Luke, though I suspect there is more to him than meets the eye as well," Dr. Joyen said. "I'm not going to look anymore. It's enough to know that you are fugitives in one way or another. Obviously, I knew you weren't standard, but I never expected to find. Do you realize what the punishment for having an unregistered armed adaptation is?" "Don't," Gret growled. Dr. Joyen turned to Rosie, who shrank in her seat. "I had my suspicions after your altercation with Mr. Tremont, though I told myself surely I'd misread the signs. But then I remembered reading about some of the non-standard family of adaptationists after the raids. Rosie is a fairly obvious nickname. Why on earth did you keep it?" "Because it's my name. I don't want another one," Rosie said, her voice small. We all waited with bated breath to see if Dr. Joyen knew anything else about Rosie, but she just shook her head and said, "I came to tell you 2 things. The first is that none of you are to ever come near my site again." "You already fired us," Gret spat. "Temporarily." Dr. Joyen looked in Gret's eyes with obvious effort. "Now I am firing you permanently. You are banned from the Life Gardens." "Of course, there may not be work for much longer anyway," she said, her voice thick. "Mr. Tremont will never finance us now." She stood up. "The second thing I came to tell you is that Mr. Tremont will be informing the people of Supplicants Grove about the synthetic in their midst. I thought you deserved at least a little warning." She hesitated. "I want you to know that I don't blame any of you for your circumstances. I know you didn't mean to ruin this chance for me, but I cannot allow you to ruin another." Dr. Joyen left the kitchen. She did not quite make it to the front door before a sob escaped her. It was the first time I'd ever heard an adult cry. Chapter 31. "I can fix this," Gret said. No one answered her. "I can," she insisted. "How?" Rosie asked. Gret stepped away from the back of my chair and began to pace around the table. "I'll think of something," she said. But she already had thought of something. That bright, shining plan I had let myself believe in now lay in shimmering ruins at our feet. All of this happened because of me. It didn't matter what a bomb wanted. It could still only do one thing: explode. Her voice shaking, Rosie said, "There's a reward for turning in unregistered non-standards. Since she's not getting Tremont's money..." We all looked at Gret, waiting for her to deny that Dr. Joyen would turn us in, but she didn't. All of the love and faith that used to radiate from Gret when she talked about her mentor was gone. I had taken that away from her. Slowly, Sandra said, "There is another way." From Luke's room, we heard a shout as anguished as the first time I heard him speak. "Don't you dare have this conversation without me!" he yelled. Sandra and Rosie left the table. I took a longer time to stand. My legs weren't working right. For a dizzying moment, I thought I still had 4 instead of 2. Gret waited, but did not look at me, as we crept to Luke's room. Luke was struggling to prop himself up on his pillow. He clawed at his sheets, glaring at all of us. "Everyone considering doing something stupid, stop it right now," he said. Gret and Rosie looked at Sandra. She lifted her chin. "Don't pretend it wouldn't solve our problems," she said. "I can make them forget. Dr. Joyen can take us back, and Tremont..." "Sandra, we agreed," Gret pleaded. "When you got your glasses, you said never again." "She's already gone back on that promise," Luke said, his voice cracking. Gret's eyes widened. "Sandra?" Sandra said nothing. She just nudged the medicine bottles on Luke's nightstand. "But I was going to take care of that," Gret said, stumbling back a step. "Can't take care of everything, Gret," Sandra said. "Yes, I can!" My wristband whirred, making everyone jump. Rosie, who had been staring at the wall, shook herself. "Let me get that off," she murmured. "I figured out how." "No!" Luke cried. I froze. The rest of the pack stared at Luke, whose breathing had gone ragged. "Don't take it off," he said. "We need the tracker." Rosie nodded slowly. "Why?" Gret asked. When I didn't answer, she turned back to Luke. "Please don't," I begged Luke silently. But he did. "I only know the feelings," he said. Our pain spilled out of his mouth, so much that I thought I would drown in it. He was right. The first empaths had made a mistake. No one should have to endure all that he did. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I think Millie never really planned to tell the authorities about Dr. Topher. She's hoping that if she goes too long without transforming, that will draw Dr. Topher out. She's planning to use herself as bait." "Bait?" Sandra said blankly. "Bait for what?" "Oh, do you really have to ask?" Rosie said. "If Millie has her way, I won't be the only murderer in the pack." There it was. Simple and violent. I almost said I'd changed my mind, but I didn't think it mattered anymore. Rosie looked at me with tired eyes. "You must call it what it is," she said. "When I first got here, I was a wreck. The others can tell you. But all I really had to do was admit to myself that I don't feel bad about killing that man, even if I should." "What about the girl?" I asked. Rosie's face clouded. "I didn't hurt her," she said, which was not what I asked. "No one's killing anyone," Gret said. She tried to look like stone again, but her masonry was crumbling. "That's completely off the table." Sandra said, "This is why I have to get to Tremont. I can stop him." "No!" I shouted. My voice echoed in the small room. "You will not go blind because of me!" Sandra's eyes filled with tears behind her 2 weak glasses. "Millie, you're my friend," she pleaded. Behind the swagger and the fighting, this was the kind of monster Sandra was. She would lay down her sight for us. For me. "Topher will hurt you even more than she already has," Gret said, taking a step towards me. "This isn't your responsibility." She tried to touch my face, but I pulled away. Her hand froze in midair, How can you blame yourself? She asked. Is that what EP taught you? That when Topher bit you with all those stupid needles, it's your fault you changed? Bit her? Rosie said, her voice scaling upwards. Gret waved her hand at my leg. That piece of shit adaptationist made a fake mouth to inject her. Like we bite our young, you know? Or more like those messed up stories about us. But werewolf bites don't do anything to standards other than fucking hurt. Then point one for adaptationists over nature, Luke said. I was intimately familiar with the particular strain of synthetic bitterness in his voice. Millie started out standard, but Dr. Topher's bite turned her into a werewolf. All she ever wanted, I muttered, my voice just as hard as Luke's. But as the words came out of my mouth, I realized that they weren't true. Dr. Topher had wanted more. That's why she'd injected me with more than just the werewolf's adaptation. She'd adapted me to be like her. Good, Marvel. Let it bite you. Let it change you. Soon you'll do the same. Sandra, Rosie, and Gret were arguing again. All three of them kept repeating my name. They were trying to figure out how to keep me safe. Luke and I were dead silent. Slowly, I looked down at my leg. The scars were hidden, but I could feel how swollen they were. Someday you'll be so much better at this than I am, Dr. Topher had said, years after it was clear, even to her, that I could barely support my own life through the transformations, let alone a fetus's. Yet still she told me I could change everything. And what better way to change everything than to change everyone? Awful, evil rumors. Werewolves who kidnapped children and bit them into beasts. Standard society's worst nightmare. Dr. Topher's dream come true. Monitor and report, she'd commanded Mr. Bix, after I told her I delivered a 10 on the pain scale. And when he questioned her, she didn't answer. She didn't even put it in her lab reports. No one could figure out what she'd done to me, not even her own apprentices. But I knew her better than anyone. Luke made an inhuman noise. The rest of the pack jumped as my knees buckled. Gret caught me and lowered me to the floor. What's wrong? She cried as I slumped in her lap. Luke? Guilt, he choked out. For a second, I thought I was going to faint, but I fought it. I had to call Leela so that she could tell me if Mr. Bix still looked as sick as he had when he had taken me to the compound. I needed to check the comments again to see if Mr. Bix's pain had diminished past 8. Surely it had by now. Dr. Topher had gotten so much wrong with me. Why should this be any different? Millie! Gret yelled, for what I realized was not the first time. The entire pack was staring at me, eyes wide with fear. I know what she added, I said. I pushed away from Gret and staggered to my feet. I know what she made me. Stop, Gret yelled, leaping up and blocking my path. Stop acting like you're still hers. I bit him, I screamed, whirling around to face her. I bit Mr. Bix because I knew he was working for Dr. Topher. I didn't do it to protect anyone. I bit him because I wanted to. I tried to leave, but she grabbed my arm. So that means you have to run back to her? This is her fault, not yours. Don't, I spat, wrenching away from her. I'm not a child. I know how choices work. That's why I never chose anything until I bit him. I chose, not her. But all your options were shit because of Topher, Gret cried, even as I shoved past her and lurched out into the hall. Topher and the bastard adaptation donor. I hate them. Gret, no, Luke moaned. I kept walking. I was almost at the door when the full weight of Gret's words hit me. Luke wailed. Moving slowly, Gret joined me in the front room. She looked like a bridge after a bombing. I pressed my back against the door. Why was your whole pack arrested? I asked. You said only some of them were unregistered. I didn't know, she whispered. I swear, Millie, I didn't know until the cops came. I don't even know which one of my pack did it. But all the grown-ups knew. They hid the culprit, aiding and abetting. That's why they all went away. Your mother? It can't have been her, Gret said. but her eyes were so scared that I knew she wasn't sure. "Were you ever going to tell me?" I asked, so quietly that she could only hear because she had real werewolf ears. "Yes," she said desperately. "I tried to, and I was going to, today. I wanted it to be before we kissed." Before we kissed. Gret had thought about kissing me. She wanted that. But she also wanted to hide the truth of my life from me. Just like Leela had. Just like I had. It's not something I think about," Gret said. "It's not supposed to be part of me. I don't want it to be why I'm here. But it's why I'm here! It's part of me!" Another thought struck me. "Rosie said you wouldn't let them look in my file. Did you look at it? Did you know that they weren't named in there?" Gret didn't answer. Now that they'd started, it seemed I couldn't stop the revelations from exploding like missiles in my brain. "And that's also why you were okay with not running right away. You wanted to catch Dr. Topher, too, because of what she did to your pack." "They're not my pack!" Gret cried. "Not anymore. Millie, I know what they did to you." "No, you don't!" I didn't intend to keep talking, but Luke sobbed so loudly that I could hear it from the door. My secret was already out. As it filled my mind, it filled his, too. I hadn't thought I had words for this, but they spilled out of my mouth so easily. If Luke had to suffer my emotions, then Gret could deal with my language, even though the first speaking humans could never have anticipated that their beautiful invention could tell a story like mine. "I told you Dr. Topher showed me videos of werewolves. She told me I was like them, that I could change like they did if I tried. She told me she'd be so proud of me, and that the clamp and the aches and pains would be worth it. So I tried for her. I started changing, but it hurt and I got scared, and I wanted to change back, but I didn't know how. I couldn't keep going forward either. So I got stuck." That was when I'd started using my pain, and I'd had plenty to choose from. I folded myself down over and over, flitting from agony to agony, because I was too scared to think. It lasted so long. Luke was keening in his bedroom. I looked up at Gret. "I stayed like that for 6 months. Gret's arms jerked as though she wanted to hug me, but then her hands closed and dropped to her sides. Her comfort was useless. She was beginning to understand. I continued ruthlessly. I'd move a little more towards being a wolf, and then back towards being a girl, but I couldn't finish either way. Sometimes I wouldn't change for weeks, and my body would try to heal the way it was, but it couldn't because I wasn't a real shape. Half the time my bones didn't connect to each other. I couldn't tell where I began and ended. Body parts that didn't exist burned, but then there were parts of me that I could see but not feel. I didn't know how much of me was even real. Dr. Topher kept coming back, kept using the clamp. At first I thought it was because she wanted to help, but then I figured out she had done it all on purpose. She didn't love me. I knew that, even when I wasn't sure if my name was Millie or Marvel. Then one day, I finally transformed all the way, and it was dumb luck that no one was in the room when it happened. I ripped everything to shreds. I must have destroyed millions of dollars of equipment. When I turned back, I saw what I'd done, and then Dr. Topher came in, and she said, "I told you I'd be proud." That is what your pack did to me. Gret pressed her hands against her mouth. Did my story make her want to vomit? I didn't blame her. During those 6 months, I used to vomit all the time, the acid burning my tiny, hairy chest. "Is this the whole reason you found me?" I demanded. "Because you thought you could take back what your family did?" Gret didn't answer, but I knew guilt when I saw it. It was written in every line of her body. I left the squat and slammed the door behind me. Chapter 32. I didn't know what time it was, but the sun was bright in the streets of Supplicants Grove. However long it had been since my transformation started, Mr. Tremont had clearly not spoken to either EP or the public about me yet. I'd read enough complaints to know he would word his denunciation carefully, so that he could sound both blameless and brave. I doubted it would take him too long. My anonymity was coming to an end. Which one of the pack would first realize just how bad this situation really was? Probably Rosie, since she was the one who disabled the wristband. Once Mr. Tremont reported what he'd seen, Mr. Patter would have to claim that I had transformed safely in the compound, but he would know it was a lie. I would be held under lock and key for the rest of my life. As my guardian, Mr. Patter had the power to move me to an undisclosed and isolated location. No fellow synthetics, no pack, no escape. I wondered if there was anything I could say to Mr. Tremont to make him leave me alone, but I didn't even know where to find him. Besides, a man like that wouldn't pass up the opportunity to inject a little shock and awe into the drudgery of the desert. Synthetics were always good for that. Of all the threats I'd faced in my life, who would have thought that the one to destroy me would be this rich man I'd first seen unsuccessfully flirting in a park? On the other hand, maybe that wasn't so surprising. Wealthy standards had a way of ripping things apart, and they never had trouble forgiving themselves for the damage. Perhaps it was for the best that Gret had hurt me so much, and I had fought her so viciously. It might make it easier to let go. Not for me, but for her. She could cut her losses now. And if she wouldn't? If she tried to hold on to me? I'd have to force her hand. I had to put a stop to my destruction somewhere. My thoughts had no rhythm. I needed a drumbeat to keep them in line. I somehow made it up the stairs and into my apartment, where I finally opened the messages that Leela had sent me. The first several were just variations on "Are you okay?" and "I'm sorry." I imagined her long webbed fingers drying and cracking as she labored over each misspelled word. She didn't mention Mr. Bix. Maybe I was overreacting. After all, he'd looked ill, but perfectly human when I'd seen him last. But then, I hope you read this because you wanted me to tell you if anything weird happened with Mr. Bix. I forgot to tell you because we haven't talked, but he hasn't been in the compound for a few days. He crashed his car into the petrified forest driving back with supplies. He's been sick and fell asleep. Marky told me there was a big dent with pieces of petrified wood in his car. Mr. Bix wasn't hurt, but Mr. Patter told him to stay away until he got better. Don't know if this matters to you, but wanted to let you know. Please, please, please call me. Horror spread like a drop of blood in water, starting small and then suffusing my entire body. Hand shaking, I opened the phone app on my computer. I couldn't use my actual phone, or Mr. Patter would know, and selected Mr. Bix's number. I listened to 7 rings before I heard a voice. "You," Mr. Bix snarled. "What do you want?" I almost wept with relief. With an effort, I choked out, "I just wanted to see how you were, since Leela told me you hadn't been in, and..." "Oh, now she shows concern," Mr. Bix slurred. He sounded drunk, or like his teeth didn't fit right. "Filthy mouth you got there, Millie. Probably should have let Patter look at that junk you took out of me after all. Should have let him lock you up. It's what had happened to any other werewolf. Why should you be special?" My body felt like it was ripping straight down the middle, just like my drum. "I'm not special," I whispered. "Never thought so either," Mr. Bix said. There was a hysterical edge to his words. He was trying to sound angry, but I heard fear instead. "But now that I've got you on the line, you still owe me that favor, don't you?" My silence stretched for what felt like hours. Finally, the raggedness of Mr. Bix's breathing forced a word from my throat, as harsh as a clanging door. "Yes." "Good, because I'm calling it in. I need to meet you. Somewhere private. We have things to discuss." "I know a parking garage," I said. "It's usually empty." My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else, as I described how to get to the garage. I had learned a lot about Supplicant's Grove since meeting the pack. I could give directions, as though this really was my home. After a pause, Mr. Bix said, "That'll work. Get going." "Now?" "Yes, now!" He ended the call before I could say another word. My other will stirred feebly. I heard its pleading voice. "I said I wanted to stay." That was my mistake. Wanting anything. I'd known since I was in the lab that the root of all evil was wanting. That was the force that had burned up our world. I got up and walked out the door. I moved swiftly through the streets of Supplicants Grove. I half expected to hear the pack call out my name, but they were nowhere. I could almost believe they had never existed. Except when I got to the garage, Rosie's car was parked in its usual spot. My hand was steady as I touched the painted-on rust. I couldn't save anyone, but I could make this stop. I was made for violence, and it was my responsibility to turn that violence back on its maker. Look what she'd already done. I'd hurt Mr. Bix so badly that he crashed his car in the petrified forest. Wait. How was that even possible? Leela had never seen the petrified forest, so she didn't know that, from the road, the dead trees were just distant silhouettes. A large expanse of uneven terrain separated the forest from the infrequent cars that passed it by. If Mr. Bix had drifted off the road, he would have woken up long before he reached the trees. I circled around Rosie's car, studying its battered exterior. If a car could sustain such damage from just a girl and a crowbar, what would it look like if it careened all the way into the petrified forest? Even if Mr. Bix had managed to sleep all the way with his foot still on the gas, he wouldn't have walked away from that crash unscathed. Leela's story made no sense. Unless... what if Mr. Bix's car hadn't traveled far? What if he had already been in the petrified forest when he crashed? The forest stretched over many hills and valleys. Surely whole acres were hidden from the road. And the forest was perfectly situated between Supplicants Grove and the compound. Wherever I was, those dead trees were never too far away. I knew where Dr. Topher was hiding. If I told Mr. Patter where to find her, she wouldn't have time to disappear. I could actually do what I'd pretended I was planning. I could catch Dr. Topher before she caught me. I stumbled away from Rosie's parking spot just as another car pulled in next to it. Its headlights flashed in the dimness. I looked at the driver's seat just as the door opened a crack. The barrel of a gun nosed its way into the gap, pointed directly at me. The door opened wider. The owner of the gun stood up. "Millie, my marvel. It's been so long." And that is the end of part 3 of 4 of our Sharp Forsaken Teeth. I am once again leaving you on quite the cliffhanger here for the next 2 weeks. Sorry about that, but we're getting down to it. I would love to hear your thoughts on these chapters. I'd also love it if you could share this story with your friends or anyone you think would be interested in it. It, as I always say, has been such a joy sharing it with all of you, and I'd love to get more people into our conversations. I'll be back next week with a new video essay, and then after that, we'll be back here to find out what happens next. So until then, take care, and I will see you soon for more monstrous food for thought.